Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is part 1 of what if Naruto was tricked into a wish lamp. If you guys enjoy this what if, then comment, like and subscribe. Let's go. Also the video goal is 10 likes, so let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Then go ahead and check out the other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave, also share the video with your friends and link in the description. So let's go. Walking through the forest, a 7-year-old Naruto Uzumaki scowled as he aimlessly kicked a rock. Stupid teachers, stupid academy, stupid everything. Naruto thought angrily, since it seems like everything and everyone is trying to be against him today. First, he ended up sleeping in because his alarm clock wouldn't go off, leading to him being late to the academy, where he then got detention for being late and disrupting the class. Then he had to deal with being called on to answer questions that he doubted anyone in the class knew the answer to. Then it was on to the daily sparring matches, where he got beaten up repeatedly by his opponents. When the academy finally got out, Naruto was stuck having to stay behind, having to clean all the windows and the blackboards in all the classes, and he was sure that at some point his reflection started laughing at him. Finally, when he went to Ichiraku's to get some ramen, he found out they were closed for the day. All in all, Naruto really hated today and had decided to go out into the forest to be alone for a while, not even having the desire to pull any pranks on anyone. Though as he was lost in his angry thoughts, Naruto failed to notice something sticking out of the ground, in front of him, leading to the whiskered blonde to letting out a yelp as he tripped over the object, before falling to the ground. "Can't I get a damn break?" Naruto shouted, wondering if the world itself was against him today. Getting up, Naruto looked at the offending object that tripped him, only to be confused when he saw what looked like a bottle sticking out of the ground. Curious as to why the bottle was seemingly buried out in the middle of the forest, Naruto dug it up, pulling it free once it was unburied. Now getting a better look at it, Naruto saw it wasn't a bottle, but a gold-colored lamp with a few dirt stains on it from being buried. Wonder what this was doing buried out here, Naruto thought, seeing it looked to be in fairly good condition, thinking someone must have thrown it out. Deciding to take it home just in case anyone tries to take it from him or think he stole it from somewhere. Given how the villagers enjoy whispering behind his back or spreading negative rumors about him, Naruto held the lamp tightly as he ran back to the village, heading straight for his apartment. Later, arriving back at his apartment, Naruto sat on his bed looking at the lamp, now questioning himself on why he bothered bringing it home or what he's supposed to do with it. "I guess I could try selling it to a traveling caravan," thought Naruto, given they don't deny him the chance to buy or sell stuff, or overcharge him, like how places that are native to Konoha do. So, he could see if the lamp is worth anything, knowing he could always use some extra money besides the monthly stipend he gets. Though Naruto figured he should clean the lamp to make sure it's in the best possibly condition, as he began rubbing away the dirt spots on it. Only for the boy to be shocked, when pink smoke began flying out of the lamp in a large swirl, with Naruto only being further shocked when the smoke faded away, revealing a strange-looking man. He has a short crop of black hair under a pink and purple hat, a small black goatee, and sideburns running all the way down his face. He is short and stubby and has a thin black mustache that ends in swirls. He wears a pair of light red sunglasses and a long-sleeved pink changshan shirt with a black open vest over it, along with having 2 golden bracers firmly locked around his wrists. "Who the hell are you?" Naruto shouted in shock at the appearance of this strangely dressed man, who seemingly came out from inside the lamp. "Greetings, my master, I am the Djinn of the lamp. Ask and I shall grant you 3 wishes. Though I cannot resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause, grant power greater than that of the gods of this realm, making people fall in love, time travel, wish for more wishes, or kill anyone who is truly innocent, such as young children, infants, or the rare good and honest people." The Djinn said, dully, sounding like he would rather be anywhere else. Said Naruto, blinking in confusion, not sure what else to say, while the Djinn sighed tiredly. "You rubbed my lamp and released me, meaning I will grant you any 3 wishes, no more no less, as long as they don't break any of the rules I just listed. Now can we get this over with?" answered the Djinn, wanting to get this over with. Naruto's eyes widened in shock at hearing this. Any 3 wishes he could want, as long as they didn't break any of those rules. Normally, Naruto wouldn't believe this guy was lying and just trying to trick him, doubting anyone had the power to grant any wish a person wanted. But what if he was telling the truth? Then Naruto just got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get any 3 wishes he could possibly want granted. Again, normally, Naruto would immediately wish to become Hokage, but he also knew he only had 3 wishes. So, rather than wish for the first thing to come to mind, Naruto knew he needed to think this through carefully and really be sure of what he wished for. That train of thought led Naruto to think about his life and how he was currently treated by the villagers, never knowing why he was hated and never getting answers as to why he was. "I wish I knew why I was hated," said Naruto, knowing this was his chance to finally get some answers that the old man wouldn't give him. "Granted," the Djinn said, waving his hand, causing a file to fall onto Naruto's lap, the boy eagerly grabbing it and opening to finally know why everyone hated him. And what he read made Naruto's eyes widen in shock and disbelief. I'm the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko," Naruto thought, not believing what he just read, since everyone in the academy knew that the Yondaime defeated the Kyuubi. But if what he's reading is true, then that's a lie and the Yondaime really sealed the Kyuubi inside of him, and that was why everyone hated him, because they saw him as the fox. Though Naruto also saw a side note mentioning someone called Danzo Shimura as the person responsible for telling the village his Jinchuriki status. With the Sandaime having been planning to keep it a secret, given the death and destruction that happened that night. Naruto sat in silence for a few minutes as he let this information sink in, not sure if he should be glad or not to finally know why everyone hates him. With the Djinn, who normally prefers getting the wish granting over with, allowing him to process the information. Knowing such a revelation can be a lot to take in, especially considering he's just a kid finding out he's a Jinchuriki. After a few moments, Naruto sat the file beside him before looking at the Djinn again, already knowing what his second wish is. "I wish to know who my parents are and why they'd let me become the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki," said Naruto, wanting to also find out who his parents are and why they would let him be used to contain the Kyuubi, to be doomed to live a life of isolation and loneliness. "Granted," said the Djinn, waving his hand again, causing 2 more files to drop onto Naruto's lap. Hesitantly, Naruto grabbed one of the files, given he wasn't sure what else to expect after learning he contained the Kyuubi, hoping to not learn any more shocking revelations. Only for his hope to be unfounded, as it just happened the first file was on his father, someone the Jinchuriki was very familiar with. "My, Two-san, he's the Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage," Naruto muttered, feeling faint at learning he was the son of the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. His hero and idol was his father, and also the man who sealed the Kyuubi in him in the first place. His own father was the reason he's hated and alone, because he chose to seal the Kyuubi into his own son. Breathing heavily, Naruto quickly closed the file and put it with the other, before grabbing his mother's file next. Wanting to think of something, anything, else besides who his father was. Kushina Uzumaki, the Red Death and Red Hot-Blooded Habanero. She was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before me, the Jinchuriki after Mito Uzumaki," said Naruto, while looking at the file with wide eyes, not believing his mother was also the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki before him. Even more shocking was learning both about Mito Uzumaki, the Shadaime Hokage's wife, and the fact there used to be an Uzumaki clan. Neither of which Naruto has ever heard before, which should be impossible. Since Mito was the Kyuubi's first Jinchuriki and the Shadaime's wife, unless someone was trying to erase the Uzumaki clan from history as well. Naruto needed several more minutes to come to terms with these shocking revelations, on top of learning he was also the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. With the Djinn also now, actually, starting to take pity on the boy with all the reveals happening in the span of a few minutes. Learning he wasn't only a Jinchuriki, but also the identities of his parents, with his father being the reason for his Jinchuriki status. The whiskered blonde eventually looking up at the Djinn. "Thank you, I know you're only doing this because of the wishes I made, but thank you. Since so far, you're the only one who's been nice enough to help me find out the truth of why I'm hated and about who my parents are," Naruto said, surprising the Djinn for a moment, since this is the first time anyone's ever genuinely thanked him for the wishes he's granted. He honestly wasn't sure if he should be grateful at the thanks or awkward since it's never happened before. Sure kid, glad I could help. So, what's your third wish?" asked the Djinn, knowing afterwards, he'll be forced back into the lamp. This made Naruto remember he still had a wish left, one he honestly wasn't sure he was supposed to do with. On one hand he could have wished his parents were still alive, but they've been dead for longer than a year, so that's out. He could also wish that the QB attack never happened, but who knows if that'll actually save them or could even somehow erase his own existence, not to mention if it counted as time travel or not. And after these revelations, Naruto definitely didn't have a desire to become Hokage anymore, not if it meant putting a village before his own family. But that also didn't mean Naruto still didn't want to help people in some way, people who actually deserved to be helped, rather than those that hate someone for something they have no control over. With Naruto's eyes soon falling on the files he doubted he'd ever get the chance to look at, if it wasn't for him finding the lamp and releasing the Djinn. Thinking about it, Naruto soon realized what his third wish will be. I wish I had the power to help people, to help them like you helped me, said Naruto, knowing if he could do the things the Djinn could, then he'd be able to help people no problem by being able to grant them wishes. With the wish surprising the Djinn, and while he did feel pity for the kid with everything he's learned, the Djinn also saw this as his chance to gain his freedom. You wish to help people like I can. In other words, you wish to be a Djinn. The Djinn asked, wanting to be sure of Naruto's wish, since there are plenty of loopholes that could be exploited in wishes, if you weren't being specific. Yeah, I guess so, replied Naruto, shrugging, while missing the glint in the Djinn's eyes. Very well. A Djinn you wish to be, then a Djinn you shall become. Your wish is granted, and you are now the Djinn of the lamp, declared the Djinn, waving his hand a third time, grinning as the bracers around his wrists vanished before reappearing on the shocked Naruto's own wrists. Before Naruto could say anything, he vanished in a swirl of red smoke that was soon sucked into the lamp, while the now freed Djinn laughed at finally being free, before dispersing in a cloud of pink smoke. With the lamp glowing before it transformed into a gold ring with a red gem embedded within it, before the ring soon teleported away. Ring. Naruto reappeared within the ring's gem, with his attire having transformed into something entirely different. The boy now wearing a purple vest with burnt orange lining, baggy white pants held up by a gold and purple belt, tucked into curly-toed crimson-red boots, and the golden armbands around his wrists. Naruto looked around at his surroundings with wide eyes, only being able to see the inside of the ring's gem, before looking down at himself, specifically at the armbands around his wrists. With it taking a few moments to register what just happened. You son of a bitch. Naruto shouted as he cursed the Djinn for tricking him like that, realizing he was now trapped inside of the damn lamp-turned ring. After cursing the Djinn out for several moments, Naruto simply sat down panting, before falling back with a groan. Note to self, if I ever get out of here, I'm making that bastard pay. And I'm breaking any more lamps I find, said Naruto, vowing if he ever finds any more strange lamps or other possibly magical items, he'll break them into dozens of pieces and scatter them across the oceans. Sighing in resignation, Naruto knew he couldn't do anything until some found the ring and released him to grant their wishes. Figuring he might as well pass the time by learning about his new abilities, Naruto waved his finger through the air, creating multicolored smoke that began swirling around, following the pattern of his finger. Okay, that's pretty cool, Naruto thought, admitting it's really cool that he now has magic and is capable of granting wishes, as long as they didn't go against the rules the Djinn told him before. Though that made Naruto wonder, would he still be restricted by those rules, along with still restricted to granting only 3 wishes, should he ever be freed? Guess the only thing I can do, is to wait until I'm hopefully one day freed to find out, thought Naruto, while sitting down cross-legged as he manipulated the colored smoke around. Though suddenly, Naruto began feeling a pull on his being, realizing that someone must have found the ring and was releasing him, as his body turned into red smoke and vanished. Real world. Reappearing in a swirl of red smoke, Naruto looked at the person who found him, seeing it was a woman. She was a young woman with a slender and curvaceous frame, brown pupil-less eyes, and her violet hair is styled in a short, spiky, fanned-out ponytail. She was wearing a fitted mesh bodysuit that covers her from neck to thigh. Over this, she typically wears a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange mini skirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. In addition to the typical forehead protector, She also wears a small pendant that looks like a snake fang and a wristwatch. She was also looking at him in surprise at his sudden appearance. Naruto also recognized her as Anko Mitarashi, someone he's heard about around the village, and who seemed to be a pariah just like him. He had once considered approaching her to see if they could be friends, but he hadn't since he wasn't sure if she'd hate him like everyone else. And the fact that she also terrified Naruto. Hello. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the Genie of the Ring, ask and I grant 3 wishes. But there are some rules. I can't resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause. Grant power greater than that of the gods of the realm. Making people fall in love, time travel, wish for more wishes or kill anyone who is truly innocent, such as young children, infants, or the rare good and honest people. Said Naruto, after remembering the rules, along with changing his title from a Djinn to a Genie, not wanting to be like the asshole that tricked him, with his words snapping Anko out of her surprise before she snorted. Look brat, I don't know what prank you're pulling or how you did that little appearance, but you aren't gonna fool me. Anko said, highly doubting the brat, who as far as she knew was the dead last in the academy and was a known prankster, was suddenly capable of granting wishes. Hey, I can grant wishes, and this isn't a prank. Naruto retorted, annoyed that she didn't believe him, with Anko rolling her eyes, but decided to humor him before chasing him for whatever trick he'll pull. Okay Mr. Genie, I wish for a lifetime supply of dango. Said Anko, crossing her arms under her bust, waiting to see what prank he'll try pulling on her. Well, it's better than wishing for a sandwich. Granted. Naruto said, before smirking as he snapped his fingers, with his expression then turning into a confused frown on why he said that. Then to Anko's complete shock, columns of red smoke appeared in her apartment before dispersing, revealing hundreds upon hundreds of boxes filled with dango. Still thinking this is a trick, one simply more elaborate than his others, Anko went over to a box and slowly opened it. Expecting something to pop out at her, only to see dango inside, the woman shrugging before grabbing a stick. Taking a bite, Anko's eyes widened when she actually tasted it and knew it was real. Not only that, but it tasted better than any dango she's ever had in her life. Taking a few more, Anko ate them quickly savoring their taste, only to be shocked when she looked in the box to see it had immediately refill itself. Holy shit. Anko muttered, while looking around at the boxes, knowing she literally had a lifetime supply of dango, with Naruto smirked smugly at proving he was telling the truth. Believe me no awe. Naruto screamed, when Anko suddenly grabbed him by his vest with a mad and desperate gleam in her eyes, before pulling down her collar showing her curse mark. I wish this mark was gone, forever, entirely, that it simply goes away. Said Anko, while shaking Naruto rapidly, seeing this as her chance to finally be free of the curse mark that Orochimaru gave her and she refused to lose it. Granted. Naruto said as he was shaken, before snapping his fingers, with Anko gasping a moment later as she felt the pain that's plagued her most of her life, suddenly vanished. The woman reaching, and touching where the curse mark would be, only for her eyes widen and actually fill with tears, when she didn't feel it. It's gone, it's really gone. It's really gone. Anko thought in shock and joy that she was finally free of the last thing tying her to her former teacher. How are you able to do this? Asked Anko, shocked that Naruto had somehow gained the power to grant wishes, seemingly out of nowhere. That's kind of a long story. The short version is that I found this lamp out in the forest and when I rubbed it, a Djinn came out and granted me 3 wishes. The first 2 I used to find out why everyone hates and who my parents are, and the third I used it to wish for the power to help people like the Djinn helped me. But the bastard tricked me and instead made it so I took his place as the Djinn of the lamp, or Genie of the ring now. So, I'm basically trapped in granting the wishes of whoever finds the ring. Naruto explained, with Anko looking at him in surprise at what happened, along with the fact he now knew about the Kyuubi. So, what's your third wish? Naruto asked, with Anko remembering she still had 1 wish left. And she already knew exactly what she was going to do with it. I wish the snake Sannin Orochimaru was dead, permanently, with absolutely no way of him ever coming back to life. Anko said, while smiling gleefully and sadistically that she won't only be free of the curse mark, but she can also kill Orochimaru with him never coming back. Granted. said Naruto as he snapped his fingers, with Anko grinning, as while she couldn't see Orochimaru's dead body, she now knew for a fact that he was truly gone for good. Well, I granted you your wishes, so back to the ring I guess. Naruto said, before vanishing in a swirl of smoke as he returned to the ring, with the Tokubetsu Jonin's eyes widening as she looked at the ring in her hand, before mentally cursing when it vanished. Fuck, Anko thought, cursing herself for not using the third wish to free the brat after learning he was trapped, being too focused on her desire for revenge against her former teacher. Now she doesn't know where the ring will end up, or who will find it next. Sorry brat, I hope you find someone that'll free you, said Anko, hoping that Naruto will be found by someone that'll free him from the ring. Neither Anko nor Naruto, knowing just how long it'll be until he's finally freed, and all the adventures he'll go on before that time. The moment Naruto was pulled back into the ring, he sighed and sat down while looking around the vast expanse of the ring. Only being able to see the color red as far as the eyes could see, the Jinchuriki not even sure if there was an end to the space. Knowing there wasn't much he could do until someone finds the ring again and frees him to grant their wishes, Naruto began practicing with his magic. Testing to see what he was capable of and what he wasn't, while seeing he was capable of doing a wide variety of things. Such as conjuring something from thin air, manipulate his body to turn it into something else, or change his shapes and size. Basically Naruto was realizing he was able to do anything he could imagine, everything except free himself. Near infinite magical powers, trapped in an itty little bitty prison. Naruto commented dryly, not missing the irony of the situation. Though thinking about that, Naruto remembered his own wishes, specifically the first one he made, learning the reason why he was hated. Having the Kyuubi sealed inside him by his own father, making Naruto frown and put a hand over his abdomen where the 8 trigram seal was located. He wondered what happened to the Kyuubi after he was tricked into becoming a genie, wondering if it was still sealed inside him or if something happened. Figuring he didn't have a lot of options for things to do, Naruto sat down and closed his eyes. Mindscape. Opening his eyes, Naruto looked around his mindscape, frowning at seeing it was a sewer of all places. Definitely gonna have to try and fix this later, muttered Naruto, not liking the idea of his mind being a sewer and hoped he might be able to change it into something more pleasing. Walking down the tunnel, it wasn't long before Naruto soon arrived in a large open area, with a gigantic gate in front of him with a seal tag in the middle. The whiskered boy knowing this was where the Kyuubi was sealed away, but he couldn't see anything past the darkness in the cage. Gulping, Naruto moved a little closer to the cage, but still kept his distance, not wanting to test his luck. Hey, Kyuubi, are you there? Naruto called out, before letting out a short scream when massive claws shot out from between the bars, with the new genie being very thankful he chose to keep his distance. Even more so, when 2 large blood-red eyes opened up and glared down at him, accompanied by a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. You stupid, ignorant, retarded, idiot. Do you have any idea what you've done? Roared Kyuubi as it stepped into the light and glared murderously down at Naruto, with the boy shivering despite knowing he was technically safe. If this is about being tricked, I swear I didn't mean for this to happen. Naruto said quickly, only for the Biju to growl and continue to step into the light. I could care less about your own foolishness, in allowing that Djinn to trick you. What I care about, is that you pulled me into this mess. Kyuubi said, with Naruto now getting annoyed, since it's not like he asked for this happen. Hey, this isn't my fault. That bastard tricked me and got me trapped in here, retorted Naruto while glaring at the fox. It doesn't feel so good having your freedom ripped away, is it, runt? Said Kyuubi rather scathingly, being able to take some enjoyment that one of its containers now knew what it felt like to be trapped, with no way to escape. With Naruto falling silent at its words, being reminded that the Kyuubi had been forcefully sealed away 3 times, first into Naruto Uzumaki, then his own mother, and now him. And now it wasn't only trapped inside him, but possibly in the ring as well. Since there's now no guarantee that should the seal break, the fox could simply escape the ring. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this happen, Naruto said with a frown, while Kyuubi scoffed at his words, not interested in a human's apology. Sorry, doesn't get us out of this mess. We're now stuck here for potentially eternity because you couldn't think for more than 5 seconds. Said Kyuubi stalking back into the shadows of its prison, angry knowing that it now lost any hope of ever being free. Given the fact Naruto was now a genie, it basically meant he could no longer die. Sighing, Naruto sat down, his earlier annoyance coming back. Look, I came here hoping there was some way we could at least try to get along, if not eventually be able to work together. Since you're right, we might never be freed from the ring and stay trapped forever. So, we can either spend the rest of eternity hating each other and fighting, or at least try to come to an understanding," said Naruto, before waiting to see if the Kyuubi would respond, only being met with silence, making him sigh again. Though just before he was about to leave, he stopped when the Biju spoke again. "You're not as stupid as everyone thinks," Kyuubi stated, looking at Naruto with a single eyes open, admittedly a little intrigued at such maturity from a child, given how anyone else would never even attempt to reason with it, no other human would, only seeing a monster to fear or a weapon to control. Its last two Jinchuriki certainly never bothered to reason with it, only seeing a monster of hatred and destruction that needed to be locked away. "Yeah, because the villagers have such fair opinions about me," Naruto muttered sarcastically, knowing he wasn't the smartest person around, but he was observant and practical, given his years of pranking and planning them out. While he wasn't book smart, that didn't mean he was dumb or stupid, he was just better at learning through doing rather than listening. Plus, given his poor treatment from the villagers, along with being an orphan, he's had to grow up faster to take care of himself. Naruto just preferred hiding that part of himself, since he'd like to act like a normal kid. That didn't mean he still couldn't get annoyed and angry by something, leading to rather childish outbursts, since he was still only 7. "So, can we at least try to get along?" Naruto asked, looking up at the fox, who looked down at him. "How about this, you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you," said Kyuubi, making the boy sigh, but figured that's the best he was going to get at the moment. "Fine. By the way, since you were pulled in here with me, when I became a genie, maybe you got some magic too," Naruto said while shrugging, since it's also a possibility that when he gained magic the Kyuubi did as well. With that, Naruto exited his mindscape, leaving the Biju with several things to think about. Ring. Opening his eyes, Naruto found himself back in the ring, before standing up, glad he was able to at least make it so he and the Kyuubi had an understanding. As anything would be better than having his only companion in this ring be a giant angry fox. Though just as Naruto began thinking of what else he could do, he felt a familiar pull at his being, showing someone had found the ring and freed him. His body soon turning into smoke before vanishing from the gem. Real world. When Naruto reappeared, he saw the person who summoned him was a girl his age, maybe a little older. The girl had long brown hair, that's straight on the right sided while braided on the left, along with a yellow hairclip, and light brown eyes. Her outfit was a pink kimono held closed by a pink sash with 2 pockets on the front. She also wore violet baggy pants and red mesh armor underneath her kimono and legs, along with sandals that were orange in color. She was also holding the ring and was understandably shocked at his sudden appearance. Though Naruto was confused, when he saw a hint of fear in her eyes as well. "Hello. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the genie of the ring, ask and I grant 3 wishes. But I can't resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause, grant power greater than that of the gods of the realm, make people fall in love, time travel, wish for more wishes or kill anyone who is truly innocent, such as young children, infants, or the rare good and honest people," Naruto introduced, smiling at the girl, which helped to make her relax a little but still regard him warily. "Naruto Uzumaki. You're that kid that always hangs around the Hokage," stated the girl, Naruto nodding while frowning at the mention of the old man and the reminder of the secrets he kept from him. "Yeah, who are you?" Naruto asked, figuring the girl was from Konoha, if she knew who he was and that he hung around the Hokage. "Yakumo Kurama," Yakumo answered after a few moments, with Naruto smiling at her. "It's nice to meet you, Yakumo. So, do you have any wishes you want me to grant?" said Naruto, Yakumo looking between the ring and Naruto still confused about that part. "Can you, really grant wishes?" Yakumo asked, a hint of hopefulness in her voice, with Naruto nodding. "Yeah, I can. I can actually do a lot of things. Watch this," Naruto said before snapping his fingers, and to Yakumo's amazement, she suddenly found herself sitting in a large, padded chair while Naruto was now laying down on a fancy couch. To her further amazement, she also saw several expensive-looking tapestries and drapes hanging around her room that she knew definitely weren't there a minute ago. Thinking it might be a genjutsu, Yakumo made a hand sign and flared her chakra to break it, being able to at least do that. Only to see nothing changed, showing her that this was very real. Pretty cool, right? Naruto stated, grinning as Yakumo nodded dumbly, unable to speak. Naruto had done this as a way to prove he was telling the truth, so Yakumo didn't end up wasting one of her wishes in case she had three she really wanted to be granted. This way, she knows he's telling the truth and still has all three wishes. So, what wishes do you want to come true? Asked Naruto, his words snapping Yakumo out of her shock as she began realizing that she really had the chance to have any three wishes she wants granted. I don't even know. Yakumo said, having never thought something like this would happen, but now that it was, she didn't even know what she was supposed to wish for. It's fine, I know this is pretty overwhelming and crazy. How about something easy? What's something you dream of doing? Naruto questioned, only to see Yakumo's expression darken. I dreamed of becoming a ninja, but I can't anymore. Yakumo said bitterly, making Naruto sit up and look at her in confusion. Why not? Said Naruto, wondering why she couldn't become a ninja, since he's sure that'd be something easy enough for him to accomplish. I was betrayed by my sensei and the Hokage. Yakumo answered, clenching her fists in anger at the memories, while the whiskered genie was shocked to hear this. What do you mean? How were you betrayed? Naruto asked, knowing he normally would have jumped to defend the old man, that he'd never betray anyone. But given the secrets he learned not even 3 hours ago, now Naruto wasn't so sure what the Sandaime was capable of. I was born with a weak body, which left me unable to the physical activities required of a ninja. But it was my dream to become one, so my two-san petitioned to the Hokage to get me a special tutor, and he assigned Kurenai Yuhi. Yakumo said, scowling at the mention of her former teacher. She was a genjutsu user like me, so I was excited to get the chance to be taught by her. Even more after seeing the interactions an older student had with his sensei, and how he couldn't perform ninjutsu or genjutsu but was desired to rely solely on taijutsu. I believed I could become a ninja like him, by focusing on my genjutsu skills. With it helping that my kekkei genkei makes them more powerful, to the point they can become real. But Kurenai didn't believe in me, she never did. She tried making me give up my dream, so I desired to become a ninja without her help and surpass her in genjutsu. Said Yakumo, now starting to shake at the memories and the betrayal. Naruto getting up and sitting beside her, putting a hand on her shoulder, which helped calm Yakumo down as she smiled gratefully at him before continuing. That's when Kurenai betrayed me, she sealed away my powers, taking them in my dream away. Then the Hokage had ordered a fire started in my clan's household, one that killed my parents. Not only that, but I also overheard him and Kurenai planning to have me killed too if I became too much of a threat. It's why I live here alone, being watched, to see if I'm a threat. Yakumo said, Naruto looking at her in shock and horror that the Sandaime could do something like that, to kill Yakumo's parents and plan to kill her if she was considered a threat. I'm really sorry that happened, Yakumo. Said Naruto, with Yakumo shaking her head. You don't have to apologize, you didn't know or take part in it. But that's why I'm not sure I want to be a ninja, even if you can grant me that wish, what will happen if I'm considered a threat and killed? So, I don't know what to wish for. Said Yakumo, looking down, with the Jinchuriki frowning while thinking of how he could help her, before getting an idea. Well, I have an idea of what you could wish for, first. Naruto said, Yakumo looking at him curiously. What? Yakumo asked. If the Hokage and Kurenai did all that to you, who knows what else they could be keeping from you? Maybe even your own clan as well. Your first wish could be to learn about all the secrets they're keeping from you. Answered Naruto, with the Kurama heiress's eyes widening as she thought over it and realized he could be right. What else could they possibly be keeping from her? Naruto, I wish to know all the secrets that the Hokage, Kurenai, and my clan have been keeping from me. Yakumo said, with Naruto nodding before snapping his fingers. Granted. Replied Naruto as in a swirl of smoke, numerous files appeared on a table in front of them, much to Yakumo's amazement at seeing another display of magic. Before her attention immediately turned to the files and knew they had the secrets that have been kept from her. Without wasting another moment, Yakumo grabbed them and quickly began reading through them, wanting to know what else the Hokage has planned against her. Only for her shock, horror, and fear to grow as the more she read. Once she was finished, Yakumo had tears in her eyes while Naruto looked at her in concern, before putting a hand on her shoulder to see if she was alright. Only to be surprised, when Yakumo latched onto him and began crying. While confused at the sudden change, Naruto began rubbing Yakumo's back while wondering just what those files said. After a few moments, Yakumo's sobs died down as she pulled away and wiped her eyes. Thank you, Yakumo said, with Naruto nodding before creating a box of tissues that he handed to Yakumo, the girl nodding gratefully as she took them. No problem. But Yakumo, what exactly did you read in those files? Naruto asked, with the brunette flinching as she looked like she was about to start crying again, before letting out a shuddered breath. The Hokage, he didn't start the fire, I did. Cried Yakumo, shocking Naruto. What do you mean, how could you start the fire? Naruto said. It wasn't me specifically, the files, they talked about something inside my head, something called the Edo. It controlled me and used my power to start the fire that killed my parents. That's why Kurenai put a seal on me, to try and lock the Edo away, but it managed to break free. Yakumo said, horrified that she's the reason her parents are dead, even more so that she has a sentient and malicious personality in her mind, that could control her. That isn't all, the Hokage and the other higher-ups in the village and my clan they knew about the Edo. They made plans of what to do to me, if the worst happened. Said Yakumo, shivering at what they'd do to her. Seeing Yakumo wasn't willing to speak, Naruto grabbed the files and read for himself what they would have done to Yakumo should the worst happen. Only to be shocked and angry at what he read, that the old man would be willing to do this to Yakumo, when she wasn't even aware of what was really going on. It only added to the growing cracks in the trust Naruto had in Konoha and the old man. Yakumo, you still have 2 more wishes, Naruto said, reminding her that she still had 2 wishes to use. Is it possible to do a 2 for 1 wish? The things that I'm wishing for are closely related enough, to where it can count as 1 wish. Yakumo asked after thinking about it for a moment, since she had 2 things she wanted to wish for but didn't want to use both of her last 2 wishes on them. It should be possible, since I don't see any reason for why it wouldn't work. Naruto said after pondering on Yakumo's question, while giving her props for thinking of a potential loophole. I wish for my seal to be broken, with the Edo to be completely erased from existence. Said Yakumo quickly, only thinking of getting rid of the Edo forever and not have to worry about it ever controlling her again, while having full access to her Kekkei Genkei and Genjutsu once more. Grant, said Naruto snapping his fingers, as Yakumo gasped as she suddenly felt lighter, and didn't feel as tired or as weak as she normally did. Not only that, but Yakumo could feel her chakra flowing more freely again, as well as the fully power and potency of her Kekkei Genkei. It's gone, Yakumo said, smiling in relief that the Edo and seal were now gone, before she immediately hugged Naruto again, thankful for everything he's done for her in such a short amount of time. Thank you, Naruto, said Yakumo, with Naruto smiling and returning the hug. I'm glad I was able to help Yakumo. We both learned the secrets that were kept from us. Naruto said, with Yakumo pulling back and looked at him in confusion. What do you mean? What secrets were kept from you? Yakumo asked, with Naruto hesitating for a moment, wondering if he should tell her or not, before ultimately deciding to, since he didn't want to be like the Hokage or her clan and kept secrets from Yakumo. Even if they were secrets that didn't concern her, Naruto didn't feel right if he lied or didn't tell her. It started earlier today, after the academy, when I found a lamp in the forest, Naruto said as he began telling Yakumo how he found the Djinn's lamp, his first 2 wishes and the secrets he learned, along with his 3rd wish that ended in him becoming the genie of the ring, along with even including the wishes he granted for Anko. All the while Yakumo looked at Naruto with wide eyes, hearing everything he's been through, along with the secrets that were kept from him. Not only never knowing who his parents are, but that they were famous and powerful ninja as well. Even more so, that his father was the Yondaime Hokage and the person who sealed the Kyuubi into him, and wasn't that also shocking? Yakumo couldn't help but feel sorry for Naruto, for what he's experienced, along with seeing how similar they were. While it does hurt to have found out, the old man has been lying to me my entire life. I'm also glad that I know the truth now, no matter how painful it might be. Naruto said, with Yakumo nodding in agreement. As even if it hurt learning that she's the reason her parents are dead, she would have liked to know about the Edo, rather than remain ignorant of a monster existing in her mind that could take control of her. So, what's your third wish? Questioned Naruto, wondering what Yakumo could wish for now, since she now knew all the secrets kept from her and no longer had to worry about the Edo nor the seal that Kurenai placed on her. What do I wish for? Yakumo thought, not sure what else to wish for. She definitely didn't want to become a ninja of Konoha anymore. Any faith or trust she had in the village was officially shattered. The Kurama heiress also knowing she couldn't stay here anymore, refusing to risk the chance of being killed or worse. But Yakumo also knew she didn't have anywhere else to go, no one to trust either. That last thought made Yakumo look at Naruto and think of how quickly he's helped her, more than anyone else ever has, along with how he told her his own secrets so willingly. And despite them having just met, Yakumo believed that if there's anyone she could trust, it was Naruto, and she didn't want to risk losing him once she made her third wish. Naruto, I wish that no matter what, we'll always be together. Yakumo said, making Naruto look at her with wide eyes at her wish. Are you sure that's what your wish is, Yakumo? Questioned Naruto, with the girl nodding without hesitation. Yes, even if we've only met, you've already helped me more than anyone ever has and willingly told me your own secrets, even when you didn't have to. And knowing what will happen once my third wish is made, I don't want to risk the chance of never seeing you again. So, that is my wish. Yakumo replied, with the whiskered genie looking at her for any signs of doubt or hesitation but didn't see any. Granted, said Naruto while raising his hand and snapping his fingers, before not a moment later, both Naruto and Yakumo vanished in a swirl of smoke that flew into the ring. When they reappeared, Naruto looked at Yakumo with wide eyes, while the brunette looked around in confusion. Naruto, where are we? Yakumo asked, confused at their sudden surroundings. Yakumo, we're inside the ring, said Naruto while shaking his head and grabbing it, not believing this was happening. Inside the ring? Why? Said Yakumo, surprised to hear this, while wondering why they were both in here. Because of your wish. You wished that we'd always be together, no matter what. And since I'm trapped in here, so are you. Naruto said while gripping his head, not believing he's just ruined Yakumo's life and gotten her trapped in this damn ring, like him. I'm sorry Yakumo, I should have tried harder to convince you to make a different wish. Said Naruto, fully expecting her to hate him at effectively trapping her in here forever. Only to be surprised, when Yakumo pulled him into a hug before smiling at him. I'm not angry Naruto. Sure, I'm a little surprised, but I don't regret making my wish, if it means I get stay with you. Besides, this could be pretty exciting. Yakumo said, given from what Naruto told her, it seemed like the ring would teleport away to find a new master. So, it'd be exciting to have the ring teleport to new places and faraway lands and countries that they could see. You're not angry? Naruto asked, with Yakumo shaking her head. I'm not angry, just surprised is all. Replied Yakumo before looking around at the wide red space. So, where exactly do you sleep around here or stay? Yakumo asked, with Naruto looking around before shrugging. I don't know if there is a place to sleep or stay. Since I was trapped in here for very long, I haven't really explored. But I can only guess that is just a giant, possibly infinite, empty space. Said Naruto, doubting there was anything really here. Well, maybe you could try manipulating its appearance to something more comforting and less empty. Yakumo suggested, with the boy thinking it over. I can try, stated Naruto, looking around the space. Waving his hands, Naruto concentrated as a large amount of smoke began swirling around him and Yakumo, with the brunette sticking close to him as she watched things unfold. After a few moments, the smoke began clearing, and Naruto and Yakumo were surprised when rather than the vast empty prison, they were now standing in what looked like a massive palace. Everything looking so much more real, though everything was still varying shades of red, it was still a vast improvement. Wow, this is amazing Naruto. Yakumo said, amazed at the improvements, with Naruto nodding in agreement. I can't believe that actually worked. Said Naruto, not having expected it to work, but was glad it did since now it seemed much more appealing. The two then went around and explored the palace, before settling into their new rooms, with them being further surprised when their rooms changed to better suit their preferences and tastes. Okay, this isn't so bad anymore, Naruto thought, while laying across his giant bed, not feeling as upset about being trapped in the ring, now that it felt less like a prison, along with having Yakumo as company. Just then though, Naruto felt the pull on his being, showing the ring was found by someone else. Huh, that was fast, said Naruto, seeing it didn't take long for someone to find the ring, just as his body turned into smoke and vanished. Real world. Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the genie of the ring, ask and I shall I grant 3 you. Naruto said, starting his introduction, only to suddenly stop and shout when he saw who had summoned him. It was another girl his age, with long black hair with a blue tint, pale skin, and dark black eyes. Wearing blue sandals, black spandex shorts, a short white skirt, and a navy blue high-collar shirt with the Uchiha clan symbol on the back. This was Satsuki Uchiha, the sole survivor of the Uchiha massacre, and Naruto's self-proclaimed rival in the academy. The whiskered blonde always trying to one-up Satsuki and beat her, only to constantly get taken down by the girl. Though despite that, Naruto did think of trying to befriend her, knowing both of them knew what it was like to be alone. But he knew Satsuki had it worse given how her own brother killed her entire family. Naruto having thought that maybe, he could be there for her, when no one was there for him when he was alone. Not wanting anyone else to experience the same sadness. But Naruto never was good at expressing his feelings correctly, so instead he always challenged Satsuki, wanting to prove he was better than her and could be someone she looked to as a worthy rival and friend. Now here she was as his new summoner and didn't look the least bit amused at him appearing in her apartment. Whatever trick you're pulling, Dobi, go pull it on someone else, Satsuki said before turning away from Naruto, snapping him out of his surprise. Oi, this isn't a trick, and I didn't finish. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the genie of the ring, ask and I shall I grant 3 wishes. But I can't resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause, grant power greater than that of the gods of the realm, make people fall in love, time travel, wish for more wishes or kill anyone who is truly innocent, such as young children, infants, or the rare good and honest people, said Naruto, finishing his introduction, with Satsuki stopping to look back at him before scoffing. Nice try, but I'm not falling for something that dumb. Now get lost, said Satsuki, not having the patience for Naruto or his pranks. But before Satsuki could take another step, she was shocked when a chair suddenly appeared behind her, which she fell into. The Uchiha grabbing the armrests as her eyes widened when it suddenly spun around and slid across the floor towards the smirking Naruto. Believe me now, Naruto said before floating into the air and laying on a cloud of smoke he conjured, as Satsuki looked on in disbelief. Kai, Satsuki said, trying to break whatever genjutsu he managed to put her under, only to open her eyes and see nothing changed. Only Naruto's smug smirk looking down at her before her attention went to the ring in her hand. This isn't possible, muttered Satsuki, not believing what was happening in front of her. Yeah, I had the same reaction, but it is possible. Just ask, and any 3 wishes you desire I'll grant, as long as they don't break any of the rules I listed, Naruto said, relaxing on his cloud, while Satsuki stiffened as her mind immediately went to one specific rule. I can't resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause. It's only been 8 months. Satsuki thought, feeling a dull ache in her chest as she thought of the night she lost everything. A year hasn't passed yet and they certainly didn't die of natural causes. She could have them back. But just before Satsuki could make the only wish she wanted, she snapped her mouth closed, knowing she had to think rationally right now. She can't just make a wish and revive her entire clan, that'd definitely draw too much attention. Even worse, if Itachi came back and just killed them all again, and she didn't even consider just wishing he was dead. He'd only die by her direct hand and not through some wish. Though this gave her another idea of what to wish for, before resurrecting her clan. I wish to know why Itachi killed our entire clan, Satsuki said, knowing there has to be more to it than him having just wanted to test his power. There had to be something she'd be able to use to her advantage, with the real reason he did what he did. Granted, said Naruto, snapping his fingers causing a file to drop onto Satsuki's lap, the girl raising a brow at the rather strange answer, having expected something different. Yeah, I was just as confused when it happened to me. I'm guessing it just saves us the trouble and headache of having the information dumped straight into our brains. Since I'm pretty sure that these documents have information that the Sandaime and the other higher-ups don't know about. Or would at least not write into any documents they wrote themselves, to keep the information from getting leaked. Naruto explained, since that was his best guess on why this happens, whenever someone wishes to know something. Shrugging, Satsuki grabbed the folder and opened it to start reading it and finally understand why Itachi massacred their clan. But the more she read, the more Satsuki began shaking in shock, anger, sadness, and horror, before she screamed in fury throwing the file away. With Naruto watching in shock as she began destroying her apartment, having no care for the destruction she was causing or anything she broke. This continued until Satsuki finally fell to her hands and knees panting, with the apartment now looking like the middle of a war zone. Naruto gave the girl a wary look as he floated off his cloud and onto the ground, being careful not to make any noise, lest he somehow sends her into another rage. Looking at the file, Naruto held out his hand and had it fly into it before he began reading to see what could have caused such a reaction. But what Naruto read, he understood Satsuki's reaction and knew her anger was more than justified. Not only that, but whatever lingering trust Naruto had in Konoha and the Hokage, it was now completely gone. Setting the file down, Naruto approached Satsuki and kneeled down beside her, putting a hand on her back. Satsuki, Naruto said hesitantly. They ordered him to do it, he spied on his own family and then he killed everyone. Just so I could live, Satsuki said with tears in her eyes, while Naruto winced at her words. It was true, Itachi had been spying on the Uchiha clan for the Hokage and elders, due to the tension between the village and Uchiha clan after the Kyuubi attack. With the Uchiha having been planning a coup to take over, after they grew tired of the poor treatment they've suffered from, which dated all the way back to the reign of the Nadaime Hokage. With it ending, in Itachi taking the responsibility and burden of stopping it before it could begin, by killing every single Uchiha including his own parents. All to prevent a civil war and to ensure Satsuki would live, trusting his sister to be the one to kill him and avenge their clan. And to add insult to injury, the massacre could have been prevented if it wasn't for Danzo Shimura attacking Shisui. He could have used his Mangekyo Sharingan to get Fugaku to call the massacre off. With him only really agreeing to the coup, due to the information that Yashiro Uchiha had provided him, thanks to a mysterious masked Uchiha. And while, the Uchiha that were dead set on the coup would still rebel. Naruto was confident that the combined might of Itachi, Fugaku, Shisui, the Uchiha clan members that didn't agree with the coup, and Konoha's overall militia, should have been enough to deal with them. To be honest, Naruto could really emphasize with the Uchiha clan, given how they were both treated as pariahs by the populace of Konoha. Only, where he had to deal with this crap since he was 4 or 5, when his Jinchuriki status was leaked by the damn Warhawk. Whereas the Uchiha clan had to deal with it for decades, nearly a century at most. And while he was annoyed by Fugaku's plan to extract the Kyuubi from him and control it with his Mangekyo Sharingan to act as the Uchiha's trump card against Konoha, Naruto couldn't help but smile, when he read how his godmother, Makoto Uchiha, spoke out in opposition to that plan. Even making Fugaku compromise with her, to leave enough of the Kyuubi's chakra to let Naruto live and then smuggle him out of Konoha, so he wouldn't be a casualty in the rebellion. Understanding that she couldn't completely change Fugaku's mind when her husband had the majority of the clan in favor of that plan. Now that's a mother. Even when she couldn't be there for me, due to the Sandaime going so far as to abuse his power to ensure Makoto couldn't take me in. She still made an effort to ensure that I was protected to the best of her ability. Naruto couldn't help but think to himself, when he compared his godmother's actions of standing up to her husband and clan for his safety, while making Fugaku come to a compromise, to his birth mother's actions and inactions. While he did understand that his mother did love him dearly, with how she brought him into the world and took a claw from the Kyuubi to let him live and was grateful for it, Naruto couldn't help but feel betrayed and hurt by how easily she caved to his father's desire to seal the Kyuubi into him, despite knowing what it's like to be a Jinchuriki and treated like an outsider herself. Yet all it took from Minato was a few sweet words of a prophecy and, preserving the balance, along with a few empty promises that ultimately didn't come true, for Kushina to agree to it. Satsuki, I may not know exactly what you're going through, but I do know, Naruto said, wanting to try and help her. You don't know anything. Satsuki hissed while glaring at Naruto, not angry at him, but simply just lashing out after what she just learned. I know what it's like to have secrets kept from me. Just like how I know what it's like to be alone. What it's like to want answers so badly, but no one would give them to you. As well as what it's like to be hated for something I can't control, just like your clan. Said Naruto, not deterred by her anger. How could you possibly know anything? Demanded Satsuki. Only to fall silent when Naruto began telling her exactly what his life was like, all the way up to when he found the lamp and the wishes he made, the answers he got, and how he became a genie. And you wanna know something else? After what happened to your clan, I thought maybe we might be able to be friends, that I'd be able to be there for you when no one was there for me. So you didn't have to experience the same sadness and loneliness I did. But I was also jealous of your skills and popularity, that everything seemed so easy for you to do. Then I desired to be your rival and prove I was just as good, if not better, than you. So that one day, you would accept me as an equal, that I was able to be your friend. Naruto said looking at Satsuki, who looked at him with wide eyes at everything he just told her. You really wanted to be my friend? Satsuki asked, with Naruto nodding. Yeah, I did. I'm just sorry I didn't actually try. Especially since we can be considered siblings in a sense, given how I'm technically your younger brother. Said Naruto as he handed back the documents to Satsuki, while also conjuring the documents that the Djinn gave him, when he wished to know his heritage, both of which showed that her mother was Naruto's godmother, before standing up. But I can still do something now. What are your other two wishes? Naruto asked as Satsuki stood up as well, as she remembered that she still had two wishes to use. One of them she knew she was definitely using to revive her clan, but not all of them. She can't revive those that had fully supported the coup, that would just cause too many problems. And she refused to give anyone in Konoha the satisfaction of being right that her clan couldn't be trusted. Satsuki also knew she couldn't just revive them, let alone here in Konoha, since that would likely result in all of them being killed again, and she wouldn't lose her family a second time. For my last two wishes, I wish that my entire clan was revived, except for those that had fully supported the coup. And I wish that all those that were revived and myself were taken somewhere far away, where we'll be safe and live without anyone being able to harm us ever again. Satsuki said, using her last two wishes at once, fully intent to make sure her family was safe away from those that would hurt them. Granted, said Naruto, snapping his fingers as he and Satsuki both disappeared in a swirl of smoke, along with most of the Uchiha bodies buried in their graves. Unknown location. When Satsuki reappeared, she looked around and saw that she was no longer in her apartment and was instead standing in some wide-open grassy plain. Before gasping in shock and joy, with tears falling from her eyes when she saw nearly her entire clan alive again. Most of them looking around in confusion or shock at what was happening. With Satsuki's happiness increasing when she caught sight of Shisui, Izumi, and her parents. Satsuki said, turning around to thank him for giving her back her family, only to see Naruto nowhere in sight. Naruto, said Satsuki, looking around for the blonde genie, before looking at her hands to see the ring was gone as well. But I didn't get to thank him. Satsuki said sadly, having wanted to repay Naruto for what he's done for her, not just reviving her family, and taking them somewhere safe, but having also wanted to be her friend. Satsuki. Looking to her parents, Satsuki smiled and wiped her eyes at seeing them coming towards her, before the girl ran straight towards them. Wanting to simply take comfort that she had them again, along with swearing to one day find Naruto again and repay him for not only the kindness he's given her, but for saving her as well. Plus, it was an older sister's job to make sure that her baby brother won't be found by those that would want to hurt him and abuse his power. Reappearing in the ring, Naruto couldn't help but sigh sadly already, knowing it's likely teleported somewhere away from Satsuki. Great, I not only learn I had a god sister this entire time, but now I have a resurrected godmother that I never got the chance to meet, and probably won't ever get the chance to. Naruto thought, saddened at how he and Satsuki were basically siblings with both their mothers being their respective godmothers as well, only to be unable to meet Makoto after reviving her. You should have just killed the little brat. Instead, you dared to bring back all those damn Uchiha. Growled Kyubi, angered beyond belief that Naruto would resurrect any Uchiha, making the Uzumaki frown. I only brought back the ones that didn't support the coup. And Satsuki deserved a chance to have her family back, after what happened to them. Mentally retorted Naruto, not regretting granting Satsuki's wishes. Well, killing her would have solved that problem quite easily. She gets to be with her entire clan and there'd be one less Uchiha in the world. A win for everyone. Kyubi stated. In case you forgot, I can't kill anyone who's innocent or those that are truly good. I'm pretty sure Satsuki counted as both. Thought Naruto, only for the Biju to scoff at his words. There's no such thing as being truly good or kind. Everyone wants something they don't have and will do anything to get it. Which, in case you forgot, is what got us in this situation in the first place. That accursed Djinn wanted to be free and used you to get it. Retorted Kyubi with Naruto frowning at this, knowing the fox was right. And as far as I'm concerned, the only good Uchiha is a dead one. With any luck, they'll all end up dead again, soon. Kyubi added, hoping the Uchiha will be wiped out for good this time. You know, I think I'm starting to realize what your problem with the Uchiha clan is. Naruto thought suddenly, making the Kyubi scoff since it's obvious why it despised the Uchiha. I guess I was wrong, maybe you were as foolish as everyone thinks if you're just now figuring that out. Retorted Kyubi. No, it's not because you were controlled twice by Madara and the masked Uchiha. If that's the case, you'd hate the entire Senju clan and Uzumaki clan too, probably even more so since they can not only suppress you, but seal you away. But you don't, not only from the fact that both clans are practically extinct now, but also because of how no one besides the Shodai Hokage ever awakened the Mokuten, removing the Senju clan as a threat. While not everyone from the Uzumaki clan could unlock Ka-san's adamantine sealing chains, nor do all of them possess the special chakra to make them perfect for becoming your Jinchuriki, while every other Uzumaki would just be able to contain you. And then there's the Uchiha clan. While they may not be capable of becoming your Jinchuriki, they don't have the problem the Senju clan has. With practically all of them having the Sharingan, maybe not all of them would be strong enough to control you, but it's definitely a higher chance than with the Senju clan or Uzumaki clan. Naruto thought, with the Biju growling in anger with each word. Get to your damn point. Kyubi growled, not wanting to be reminded any more of all the times it's been controlled, suppressed or sealed away. Simple. You hate the Uchiha clan so much, because they're physical proof that despite how you have the power to destroy the world, you do have weaknesses. Something that lead you to be controlled by two of them, leading to you being suppressed and contained by the Shodai's Mokuten before then being sealed away in 3 Uzumaki. All of it proving that the Biju aren't invincible, that you aren't invincible. That there are those, who are capable of controlling and taking you all down. Naruto said mentally, with the fox being silent for a few moments before growling furiously. You are incredibly lucky, because if it wasn't for this seal, you'd be dead, right now. Said Kyubi while practically shaking in anger, wanting nothing more than to rip Naruto apart. And you're doing nothing but proving me right. Naruto mentally retorted, being able to just feel the Kyubi's rage, before cutting the connection. Sighing, Naruto got up and went inside the palace, wanting to tell Yakumo about what happened, since it's likely that they are now officially out of Konoha and potentially the Land of Fire. Though when he stepped inside, Naruto looked around in surprise when he saw the palace was now full of color rather than just different shades of red, like when he first created it. Whoa, what happened here? Naruto muttered, walking around the palace, seeing how much better it looked than before. Naruto, said Yakumo, running from around a corner, getting the genie's attention as he turned towards the brunette. Yakumo, what happened? Questioned Naruto as Yakumo smiled happily. Do you like it? I wasn't sure how, but while you were gone, I was thinking of how to make this place look even better, and before I knew it, it began being filled out with color. Yakumo said, having been amazed when it happened, feeling like it was when one of her paintings coming to life from her genjutsu. You did this? Naruto said in surprise, with Yakumo nodding in response. Yeah, I guess that since we're bound together now, I have at least some control over the inside of the ring, at least with changing how things look so far. Replied Yakumo, with Naruto nodding slowly in agreement, figuring that was the most likely reason. Before remembering what else she said, about knowing he was gone. How did you know I wasn't here? Did you look for me? Naruto asked. No, I just felt it when you left the ring after being summoned. Then before I knew it, some kind of screen appeared in front of me, like I was looking through mist. It seemed like I was seeing what you were seeing or just what was going on outside the ring. Yakumo said before smiling sadly at the whiskered blonde. I also think it was really sweet, what you did for Satsuki, especially after learning what happened to her clan. And I'm sorry you had to learn how you both could have grown up together, only to be forced to leave her and your godmother after granting her wish. Said Yakumo, making Naruto gain a downcast expression. Thanks, and it's fine, I guess. Sure, I never really got the chance to be Satsuki's friend before, but at least I was able to help her now to get her family back in somewhere safe. Even if I never get the chance to see them again, I'll be able to know they can live their lives without fear of being hunted down. Said Naruto before he was surprised when Yakumo hugged him. You're a really nice person, Naruto. Not just for granting mine and Satsuki's wishes, but not even expecting anything in return. Yakumo stated, knowing anyone else in Naruto's position with the power he had, would likely be doing anything they could to be freed, just like the Djinn did to him. But so far he's had 2 chances to get someone to use a wish to free him and then leave, yet instead asks them what they would wish for and even helped them decide on what they wanted. Thanks Yakumo, and I'm glad I'm able to help anyone by granting their wishes. As despite what happened, at least I can really change things, now. Naruto replied, making the Kurama heiress smile at him as she pulled back. And that's what makes you a great genie. Besides, who knows, maybe you'll eventually meet someone that will free you from the ring. Then you'll be free to go where you want and have less restrictions on what you can do. Including, being able to meet Satsuki again. Said Yakumo, knowing that at least one person would be willing to free Naruto from the ring, with Naruto smiling at this nodding in agreement. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be someone I'll find that'll use a wish to free me. Said Naruto, knowing there was a chance of that happening, maybe not soon, but eventually. The two then began exploring more of the palace, seeing what else there was to it, having not explored it entirely when it was first made. Given when Naruto created it, he hadn't been thinking of anything specific, not even expecting to create a large palace. Only wanting to create a nice home where he and Yakumo could stay, with plenty of space and everything they'd need. Finding that there were dozens of more rooms scattered everywhere, with their own rooms being located in the middle and next to each other. They were surprised to also find a hot spring on the ground floor, along with regular baths and even a giant pool. An art room filled, much to Yakumo's excitement, with everything an artist could want, including hundreds of different colored paints, canvases, brushes, colored pencils, pens, and plenty of other things to use. This place seems like it really has everything we'd need. Naruto stated as they found more and more rooms, with Yakumo nodding in agreement. Yeah, it's definitely something you could only dream of. Said Yakumo, doubting there's a place like this in the elemental nations, before she turned to her friend. Hey Naruto, I also wanted to ask. Where exactly did you send Satsuki and the Uchiha you revived? Yakumo asked, having been unsure of where exactly they were taken after he granted Satsuki's last wish. I'm not really sure. Satsuki just wished they were all taken somewhere far away, where they'd be safe and live without anyone trying to harm them again. So, that's all I really know. Naruto said sheepishly, having not really thought about a specific destination, only following the specifications of Satsuki's wish. That'd make sense, since you probably couldn't think of a lot of places where they'd be safe then and there, instead just doing exactly what she wished for. If that's the case, maybe you teleported them to another continent. Maybe, even another world or dimension. Suggested Yakumo, making Naruto look at her curiously. Another continent. Isn't it just the elemental nations? Said Naruto, having never heard of there being other continents, with Yakumo shaking her head. No, there are actually 6 continents in total. The Shinobi continent, which consists of the elemental nations, the Shijin continent to the west of us, the Yukiguni continent to the north, the Temujin and Tikokutoji continents to the east, as well as the Yami continent to the south. Yakumo explained, surprising the whiskered genie. How'd you learn about them? Naruto asked with a frown, wondering if this was something that was talked about in the academy. I read a lot. Since the only things I was really able to do after having my power sealed was painting or reading, so it's helped me learn more about the elemental nations and the lands outside them. But there isn't actually a lot of information on the other continents besides the basic layouts, traditions and cultures. Replied Yakumo, having had to get several hobbies to occupy herself with, after being denied the chance to become a ninja. Wow, that really makes things seem a lot bigger. Muttered Naruto, given he thought the elemental nations covered the entire planet. Now learning there are 5 other continents as well, it made him a little worried about just where the ring will end up or who will find it, if it's teleported to another continent. Yeah, it's definitely a shock at first, learning how much smaller the elemental nations seem compared to the rest of the world. But it also makes it exciting, learning about other lands and what they'd be like to see, in person. Yakumo stated, with Naruto nodding in agreement, as while it's surprising to learn, he also can't deny his curiosity of the chance the ring teleports to another continent and who'd find it. Though, suddenly, Naruto felt the familiar pull on his being, showing the ring's now been found. Looks like it's time again, see you, Yakumo. Naruto said, waving at the brunette just as his body turned into smoke, with Yakumo returning the wave. See you soon, Naruto. Said Yakumo before watching as she saw the holographic screen appear just like before, with the Kurama heiress watching, interested to see who summoned Naruto this time. Real world. When Naruto appeared out of the ring, he immediately cried out and made a cloud before flying out of the way of a blast of fire launched at him. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Naruto shouted, not believing he was suddenly attacked by whoever summoned him. You appeared out nowhere from this strange ring. I can only assume you are an enemy of Orochimaru-sama. Now please die. Fire style. Mist blaze dance jutsu. Said a female voice before Naruto saw a cloud of gas blown at him, which instantly ignited after his attacker created a spark. I'm not an enemy of anyone. I don't even know who Orochimaru is. Said Naruto, flying out of the way of the flames again. Before quickly snapping his fingers, causing his attacker to instantly be restrained in a cloud of smoke, allowing the Uzumaki genie to land back on the ground and see her. Seeing it was a young-looking girl with pale skin, pale green hair that fell down to her shoulders, with bangs framing her face and 2 strands hanging over her face and half-lidded purple eyes. With her only wearing a short white dress that stopped above her knees and had a single strap going over her right shoulder, and a metal choker around her neck. You don't know who Orochimaru-sama is? Questioned the girl, tilting her head to the side. No, I don't. I've only heard his name once before, and that's it. Naruto replied, remembering the wish Anko wanted him to grant to kill Orochimaru. I see. Then I apologize for attacking. Yet you still should not be here, intruders are not welcomed in the land of sound. The girl stated, with Naruto nodding slowly at this before snapping his fingers to free the girl. I'm getting that impression, but I'm not a normal intruder. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the genie of the ring, ask and I shall grant 3 wishes. Naruto introduced, the girl tilting her head again, but looked intrigued at this revelation. A genie? Can you truly grant me 3 wishes? Questioned the girl, looking at the ring she had stumbled on during her patrol. Yep, though there are some rules. I can't resurrect those who have been dead for more than a year or have died of natural cause. Grant power greater than that of the gods of the realm I'm currently in, make people fall in love, time travel, wish for more wishes or kill anyone who is truly innocent. Such as young children, infants, or the rare good and honest people. Explained Naruto, making the girl frown at this but nodded in understanding. So, is it alright if I ask you, who you are? Naruto asked, wanting to at least know his new master's name, given he's apparently in a place called the Land of Sound. I am Kagero Fuma of the Fuma clan and a Jonin of the forming Otogakure. Replied Kagero, much to Naruto's shock. You're a Jonin, but you look barely older than me. Said Naruto in disbelief that Kagero was a Jonin, given she looked to be 13 or 14 years old. I'm 18. Kagero stated dryly with her eye twitching slightly, given how her height had always been a sore spot for her, not helped by the less than savory attention it'd get her. Which is why she usually uses a transformation jutsu to disguise herself as a buck-toothed hunchback. Sorry. Naruto said, embarrassed to learn how old she actually is, with Kagero still looking at him blankly. So, do you have any wishes you'd want granted? Asked Naruto, wondering what wishes Kagero would want granted, making the greenette look at the ring. I'm not really sure actually. The only thing I would wish for is the restoration of the Fuma clan, but Orochimaru-sama has already offered us the chance to restore us to our former glory. So there isn't anything I would really wish for, said Kagero, making Naruto tense slightly, given the fact that Orochimaru was dead. When exactly was the last time you saw this Orochimaru guy? Naruto said, wanting to know how long it's been since granting Enko's wishes, given it could be hours or a few days for all he knew. About 3 days ago, he had left for another one of his hideouts to locate some potential recruits, leaving myself and some of my clansmen to guard the base here. Why do you wish to know? Kagero asked, looking at him suspiciously. So at most, it's been 3 days since I granted Enko's wishes. It's probably been even longer with the time in between then and when my own wishes were granted. Thought Naruto, glad he at least had a rough estimate for how long it's been, making a mental note to try and find a way to tell time while inside the ring. And no reason. Just, well, if he promised to help restore your clan to its former glory, maybe that could be your first wish. Wanting to know exactly how he plans to do that. That way, if something would go wrong, you'd know what would happen and make sure everything goes smoothly. Said Naruto, not wanting her to attack him again or try making a wish that'd be bad for him. Yes, that does make sense, given the enemies Orochimaru-sama has. Said Kagero, knowing it would be a good idea to know ahead of time what Orochimaru plans to do to help the Fuma clan, in the event something went wrong. Very well. My first wish is to know how, exactly, Orochimaru-sama intends to help the Fuma clan return to our former glory. Kagero said, eager and hopeful to see her clan retake their place in the sun once more. Granted. Naruto said, snapping his fingers, creating a large ring of smoke in front of them, making Kagero raise a brow while Naruto shrugged since this was a new way for him too. Before they looked into the ring as it began showing them different images with, who Naruto guessed, was Orochimaru and members of the Fuma clan. Only for them both to be horrified as they watched as Orochimaru began experimenting on the Fuma clan members that joined him. Cutting them open and learning how their hidden techniques worked, before disposing of their bodies if they died. With others being used as experiments, even seeing Arashi being among those he experimented on, much to Kagero's shock, horror and devastation as he was driven mad. Before being sent to fight and kill other prisoners and Fuma clan members, all while laughing insanely as he did so. Kagero could do nothing, but watch as Orochimaru either experimented on her clansmen until they died or were driven insane by what he did to them. No more, place ple please, Emma make I it, Saint Street stop. Make it stop. Kagero begged before crying out in horror and agony at what she saw, before falling to her knees and covering her ears to try and block out the screams of her clansmen as they died, with Naruto quickly snapping his fingers and dismissing the smoke. Starting to see why Enko wanted him dead. Naruto thought, feeling sick and disturbed at what he saw, not doubting that this Orochimaru's done even worse before. Looking at Kagero, the Uzumaki winced at seeing the greenette was now crying, not that he could blame her. Given how she just learned Orochimaru had no intentions of helping the Fuma clan and only saw them as useful pawns for his experiments. Kagero, I'm really sorry you had to see all that, and that you were lied to. Naruto said, putting a hand on her shoulder as Kagero sniffled and wiped her eyes. He lied to us, he was never going to help the Fuma clan. We were only more pawns for him to use and toss aside, when our use ran out. And what he did to Arashi, the hope of our clan, Kagero said while feeling devastated and empty, that even after choosing to join Orochimaru and remaining loyal to him, even going as far as to leave behind the rest of their clan, they were only tools in the end. What do you want to do now? Naruto asked, Kagero merely shaking her head. I don't know, who will believe me if I tell them the truth? Everyone who's joined Orochimaru is either dead or insane. The only ones left are me, Jigumo, Kamikiri and Kotoheim, Warashi, too, if he was still sane. They're convinced Orochimaru will help us and the rest of the Fuma clan wouldn't be able to stand against Orochimaru and his followers, even if I did go back to them for help," said Kagero, having no idea what she's supposed to do to help her clan. "Well, actually, Orochimaru's dead," revealed Naruto, making Kagero's head snap towards him. That's not possible," Kagero said, not believing Orochimaru could actually be dead. "It's true. You're not the first person to find my ring, someone else did and one of their wishes was for me to kill Orochimaru with no way for him to ever come back. It's why I asked when you saw him last, to see how long it's been since I granted that wish and if words begun spreading about his death. So yeah, he is dead," Naruto explained, with Kagero looking at him in amazement. Then you have avenged my clansman he's killed and tossed aside. Thank you for getting justice for the Fuma clan," said Kagero while bowing to Naruto, making him blush in embarrassment. It's no problem, really, I didn't even know who he was when I granted the wish. Only that since it worked he clearly wasn't a good guy, and this just proves it. But you're welcome for showing you the truth, Kagero. Also, you really don't have to bow," replied Naruto, not wanting her to bow to him or anything like that. "You also still have 2 wishes left as well," Naruto added, making Kagero look at him with hopeful eyes. "That means, I can still help my clan," Kagero thought, but also knew she needed to word her wishes right to make sure her clan thrived once again. "For my second wish, I wish that the Fuma clan's reputation was restored to its former glory, as well as restoring its number to what they once were, including all those that Orochimaru experimented on and killed," said Kagero, with Naruto frowning as he thought over the wish. "That should be possible, but for those that died, it'll only be those that have been dead for less than a year, the rest should be easy." "So, granted," Naruto said, snapping his fingers creating another ring of smoke which they looked through. With Kagero gaining tears of joy in her eyes at seeing the town the rest of the Fuma clan inhabited transform before her eyes. Becoming a large and thriving town, run and protected by the Fuma clan with them having a just as large compound. Seeing the clan head, Hanzaki, along with the members that joined Orochimaru were back, including Arashi, who was back to normal. It was everything Kagero hoped to see with her clan's restoration, that they've regained their place in the sun. Thank you, Naruto-sama for this gift," Kagero said, bowing to Naruto, unable to remember the last time she felt this happy, with the whiskered genie blushing in embarrassment. "It's fine, really. I'm JJ Juju just GRGR granting your wish. A-A and PLE please don't call me that, I also said you don't need to bow," said Naruto, with Kagero standing up straight and smiled at him. "Forgive me Naruto-sama, but it's only fitting that I do. You have given me the greatest gift of all in restoring the Fuma clan once again. Not only that, but you have helped me see the truth behind Orochimaru's manipulations, potentially saving myself and the rest of my clansmen from dying or a worse fate. Please, let me repay you for this kindness," said Kagero, wanting to repay Naruto for what he's done for her. "That really isn't necessary, Kagero, I'm just granting your wishes to help you. I'm not expecting anything in return, only that I know I'm helping people," Naruto replied while smiling at the greenette. "But I have to repay you. Even if you are just granting my wishes, you are the one who has helped the Fuma clan and saved us. I cannot leave such a debt unpaid. So please, ask and I will do anything you wish to repay your kindness," Kagero said with a bow, refusing to take no for an answer, making Naruto mentally groan. "Okay, then how about using your final wish? That's what I want you to do, use your last wish to wish for anything you could possibly want. Do that, and I'll consider that payment," said Naruto, not wanting to have her repay him for just helping her and her clan. With Kagero frowning at this, since she honestly didn't have anything else she could want. Her clan was restored, Orochimaru was dead, and there wasn't really anything left for her to wish for. Only for the greenette to perk up, getting an idea if she'd be able to repay her debt to Naruto without him trying to stop her. "Very well. My final wish is this, I wish to be bound to you forever, Naruto-sama. To serve and help you in any way I can, to repay your kindness for helping my clan. That is what I wish for. Kagero said, with Naruto looking at her with wide eyes. Pick something else. Naruto said, refusing to bind Kagero to him too, not wanting to trap someone else in the ring, like he did with Yakumo. No. That is my wish, and as Genie of the ring, you must grant me 3 wishes. And this is my 3rd wish, Naruto-sama. Said Kagero with a small smirk, knowing she'll repay her debt no matter what. I can also just refuse to grant your wish. Stated Naruto, thinking he could outlast Kagero until she decides on a different wish. Then in a way, my wish is still granted. As you will stay with me, allowing me more time to repay my debt to you, Naruto-sama. Kagero replied, making the Uzumaki mentally curse since that's also a possibility. And he had no idea what would happen if he didn't grant her 3rd wish, if the ring would just stay with her forever or if someone could still take it. Then there'd also be Yakumo, who'd be alone and trapped in the ring if he couldn't return, something he refused to let happen. Kagero, you really don't want that. If you bind yourself to me, you'll end up trapped in the ring, just like me, and there's no telling when or if I'll ever be freed from it. You could be potentially trapped with me forever. Would you really want that? Naruto said, hoping that'd convince her to not bind herself to him. Only for Kagero to not flinch and still looked at him in determination to have her wish granted. That's a risk I must take, Naruto-sama. After the kindness and generosity you have shown me, it's only fitting that I return it, no matter what the risk is. Please, grant me my wish, it is what I want. Said Kagero, looking at him. Hopefully, wanting her chance to repay him, with Naruto sighing in resignation. GGR granted. Naruto muttered while snapping his fingers, causing him and Kagero to be enveloped in a swirl of smoke that flew into the ring. With the ring falling the ground before glowing and teleported away to a new location. Ring. Naruto and Kagero reappeared back inside the ring, with the Fuma girl looking around in amazement before seeing they weren't the only ones inside, when she saw Yakumo. Hello there. Yakumo said, waving at Kagero, with her lips twitching up slightly after seeing what her last wish was. Naruto-sama, who is this? Kagero asked, looking at the Uzumaki, with Naruto sighing at the suffix. Please don't use sama, just Naruto is fine. And this is Yakumo Kurama, another person I granted wishes for. With her last wish being, similar to yours. Replied Naruto, still not liking that he's trapped 2 people in here with him. Naruto helped me, like he helped you and your clan, revealing secrets that were kept from me and helping fix a problem I had. He was really the first person that was completely honest with me and genuinely wanted to help, so I wished for us to always be together, not wanting to lose the first friend I had. Yakumo said, with Kagero looking at Naruto in amazement before bowing to him again. Your kindness is truly admirable, Naruto-sama. That you have helped others like me already, I am honored to be of service to, Kagero said, happy to hear that Naruto's helped others like her before, only to stop when Naruto raised a hand. Okay, you really need to stop that, Kagero. I don't want you to be a servant or follower, or anything else like that. I still don't like that you're trapped in here too, rather than getting the chance to reunite with your clan. But it was your choice to make and I doubt anything I did would have stopped you. So, I don't want you to be a servant, what I want is for you to be my friend, that means stop with the whole bowing and sama thing. It's just Naruto, alright. Naruto said, smiling at the greenette, with Yakumo doing the same. I'd like it if we could be friends as well, Kagero. Said Yakumo, seeing how they were pretty similar, having both trusted someone to help them achieve their dreams, only to be betrayed by that person. With Kagero looking at them in surprise, before she slowly smiled and nodded. Very well, if that's what you wish Naruto. I would love the chance to be friends with both of you. Kagero said, making Naruto and Yakumo smile at her. Good. Then come on, we can show you around and you can pick out a room, there are plenty to choose from. Said Naruto, motioning Kagero to follow him and Yakumo as they began showing her around the palace. Thank for listening. Do hope you enjoy. If you guy enjoyed, if you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notifications, and also check out the other videos that have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.